Hey friends, UFC 211 coverage from Dallas. By the time you're watching this, 211 will be done, but he's coaching a couple fighters that are fighting tonight at the time we're taping this. Thank you to Fierce Supply for having our back and sending us out. It's fiercesupply.com. Please check them out. Coach Mark Henry. Now I know, Mark, just in the last 24 hours, something rough happened with your team.
Yeah, it's just so devastating, man, and tragic. You know, anybody out there, if they could just pray for the Catone family, Nick and Marjorie and little Nicholas and Madeline. They lost their child yesterday, 1.5-year-old Nicholas.
Wow.
And you know, the Catones are such part of our family, and you know, he was an ex-UFC fighter, an amazing UFC fighter, Nick, and puts out so much for all his guys, the MMA community, and all of us. And you know, he's just always there for us, and it's just such a major loss for our team. And you know, I know Eddie and Frankie have already said they just want to put it all out there for the Catones and Nicholas tonight, man. And it was just, it's, you know, our hearts are broken, and we just have to try to, you know, switch up the energy and do something all best we can for them. And you know how much the Catone family's done for us. But anybody, just please put your prayers out, or even if you could tweet, you know, to Nick, just for strength in the words. I know nothing could really help this time, but just showing love, you know, for Nick and his family would be just such a massive thing.
I don't have kids, and it still makes you kind of sick to your stomach. You have children.
Yeah, I have two kids, and I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
I believe that's the worst thing that could happen to anybody, you know. So I don't even want to say how, you know, I don't want to think of how what they must be going through. It's just horrific. And I thank you for letting us be able to, you know, reach out to you guys to, you know, just you know, tweet or anything you can to uplift them in this horrific, sad time.
Now, if you weren't doing anything, and you're just hanging out with your friends and with Frankie and Eddie, you guys could talk about this, you could call people, and the mood would be the way that we feel right now. You know, you'd be down, but you take care of each other. But you have to lead these guys, and they have to go and do their life regardless of the pain that they feel, whatever they experience. Something great happens in their life, something scary, something sad like this, they have to go perform tonight. Yeah. And how do you lead that? How do you do that?
Well, you know, both Eddie and Frankie have special relationships with Nick, like we all do. Even his son. I mean, his son, for a year and a half, we've seen him in the gym from when he was born, and just the love that Marjorie and Nick have for them. They're the most amazing parents. And, you know, I think, you know, we just have to try to take that love that we have for this family and for Nicholas and somehow shift it, you know, to this fight and make it more about, you know, let's put it all out there, you know, for this family, and you know, everything we could do, you know, because it's just so, you know, they're such a strong part of our team, and not even that, they're just family. Yeah. You know, we hang out, you know, we're all together for barbecues. We're a very close team. I won't say we're a team. I'd say we're a family before we're a team. So it's just really rough. When
there are definitely people, leaders, coaches, psych types, who would say, let's be free of that emotion, which is of course nearly impossible.
Yeah, no way.
But then in other ways, you can, and when I picture Eddie Alvarez, he'll use that emotion, will focus that emotion.
Yeah, you know, I'd say, and it was pretty rough too, it was right when Eddie was cutting weight.
Holy shit.
Yeah, and he was, you know, had a hard time cutting with the last hour and a half because his tub water was too cold. We had to switch, you know, places. But, you know, it all went down then, and you know, we waited till after it was over and told Nick, and just Frankie and Nick both, man. You know, it was pretty sullen, our team. But, you know, like I said, I don't think we'd be honoring, you know, the Catone family if we don't, you know, try to, you know, put all that energy into helping them. And the only thing that could heal them is time, you know, and, you know, just how much we love and care for them, I think, is the only thing we could do to put it all out there tonight for them and all that Nick and his wife has done for us.
I feel like you have the right guys to perform that way, to be able to do that. The right type of, they're the right type of humans to be able to fight that way. Yeah,
you said it 100%. Ricardo and I, you know, we have other businesses, and you know, we really don't want a big team, so we kind of select, you know, who's on our team and not. And most every one of our guys is high character guys. Most of them have all families, they have kids, and I think that's why you know, the balance works so great for our team, because you know, we're just a bunch of great human beings, man. I think that's why our team does so well.
It's that's a crazy thing when people talk, when people watch sports or things. they'll talk about, oh, these guys work hard this way, or this is their strategy, or they train like this. But the human element is a real part of combat.
Yeah. Oh, forget it. Yeah, the mental, they always say, is just as tough as the physical. You know, we're blessed in the fact that, hey, you know, Ricardo Almeida's taught me. We have Renzo Gracie, you know, that's our leader. And the main thing for us is guys like Eddie and Frankie that Ricardo and I don't have to say anything for the rest of their team, because you have like guys like Frankie and Eddie, you know, who are just examples. I mean, these guys act like they're 17-year-olds. Like Frankie, I've been with 12 years. I can't even count on half a hand how many times Frankie's been late to a workout. He's always the first one there. Everybody sees how hard he works. You know, works when he's sick, works when he's injured. You know, and that's how Eddie and Frankie are, man. And so it makes things easy for me, Nick, and Ricardo in that way.
And the identity of the team itself starts to shape around the strength of the leaders.
Yeah, it's definitely them. You know, we kind of made that mold over 12 years ago. Frankie and I, you know, when he's sick, you know, or couldn't make a workout in the very, very beginning. Yeah. He'd call me, I wouldn't answer my phone for like a week, or not a week, but 3 days. Yeah. And, you know, he already had it ingrained in him, but that's kind of our mindset, you know. If your right hand hurts, let's use the left. If our left hand hurts, let's use the right. If both hands hurts, let's kick. If everything hurts, let's watch tape. But you know, we're always going to put 100% in.
That is crazy. It's so interesting. As I'm around and I study your team and I study different groups of people, and then you get to chat with you guys. There's an identity. There's and you're right, family. It becomes a family-like unit of men and women.
100%. You know? Guys like Edson Barboza, who's, you know, just an amazing family man, and just, you know, everybody on our team. Frankie, Eddie, you know, Chris Wyman, who too, his family's amazing. Yeah. And Eddie's family is just incredible, man. And, you know, and we have some guys too we've had for a while, and some guys that came in from Dagestan and Chechnya. Magomed, like, he's a family guy too, just had a daughter, so.
Magomed, you know, which Magomedov?
Yeah, Charboz, the guy who's just won for his first fight, WSFO champ.
And did he speak English?
He's getting there, man.
But when he first came in to your group, or even Edson, was that Edson's English?
Edson was a little busted up. Yeah. Wasn't confident, and now he's doing amazing, man. Yeah. You know, Marlon Marias too.
Yeah,
Marlon's one of the main things that makes us go. Marlon is like an engine, man. He helps everybody. Marlon's another guy. He's fighting his first UFC fight in 3 weeks. And
who's he fighting again? Who did they get him first?
They got him a Sensao. Number 3 ranked.
Killer. Yeah, that's killer. That's and Marlon, the kid absolutely wants that.
Yeah, Marlon's, you know, we see him as a you know, champion. We don't see him as anything else. Right. So, you know, fighting somebody like a Sensao is amazing, and he gets to show, you know, what he's made him on. We believe he's the best in the world ever since he's been with us. He's 11-0. Yeah. And just is terrorized, man. And you know, came from another gym. They were almost saying, you know, hold pads. I think he's 7-4-1 now. This kid's confidence and his progression. People don't even know about his wrestling and jiu-jitsu that are amazing. I mean, Marlon, you just tell him anything and he's done. I don't even think Marlon's missed a workout in 5 years. Wow. So that's I'm saying that's the type of guys we have, man.
I have this picture in my mind of all of you guys and your families barbecuing together. Does that actually happen?
That's what we do.
I just, like, it literally, I can picture it.
You know, we've gone go hit church together. You know, most of our team, you know, loves the Lord, and you know, and the ones that are you know, from the Muslim background, you know, they're hungry for God too, man. Yeah. And that's something we really respect, and is big for us too. You know, that you know something, you know, it's not just all you. You know what I'm saying? That something's gifted you and helped you out, and you could also lean on, and you know, so I respect that so much too.
Have you ever had fighters that early on were not driven hard workers, were lazy, that changed? You saw them change as a result of, and you don't have to name them if you have them, but have you had guys who just didn't do it, and then one day, by being around strivers and driven people?
There's definitely been a few, 100%, you know, and that's what I'm saying. Like, in our gym too, like, it's like if you can't keep up with the pace, you know, it's kind of really not for you, you know, where we're at. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think for us, Ricardo and I, Nick, you know, Anderson, Franco, like, we just love our guys, man. Yeah. You know, we just love our guys, man. I think that's so important that, you know, you have to like them first and love them and want it so bad for them, you know?
It's funny. People don't see what I'll see or we'll see when we're here. The amount of work how much of their back you have to have, and how much tragedy happens in your family. All of these things happen down to that moment, and they see on TV, you give them the hug or things going on. They see that moment, but they didn't see any of these moments all the way through.
The crying, the sweat, the tears. I mean, each one of our guys has been through tough times in their life, you know. And again, you know, I think that's why, you know, we do so well, just because we care about each other. You know, everybody cares about each other. And then, like I said, you have guys like Frankie and Eddie that are leading the way. You know, you'll get guys like Corey Anderson come in, and it's contagious. And he sees what they're doing, and you know, and then he works hard himself. You know, Caitlin Chukagan, you know, Corey, just got people we have to say to slow it down. You know,
really, that's crazy. Or they'll hurt themselves, or
exactly.
wear their bodies down.
They're young, and they want to go all out all the time. You know, we just have guys like Frankie Perez too, just going southpaw for Eddie the whole camp, and going southpaw for Frankie, you know, when he's not a southpaw, and just, you know, really trying to help him out.
But it teaches him, like he learns that he gets value from that.
Well, from that we've been switching more with him, so it has worked out.
Cool. Do you know what the Sap Alvarez scale is? Have you ever? I developed a scale that measures essentially heart and ability to take damage.
You need a new scale, pal. And your scale isn't good enough. I'm saying you need a different scale.
Yeah. Well, at the top end of the scale is Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah.
I called it the Sap Alvarez scale.
Oh, that's right. I think last fight he had,
against Connor, that one was in there, where we looked at the ability to take damage and take risks.
Your scale's good, bro.
We can keep it. We can keep the Sap Alvarez scale.
It's a good scale.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Eddie was, as I was looking at, that existed from studying Eddie Alvarez early. Yeah. I was like, somehow we have to be able to get across to people that there's a different kind of human, and the ability to reach deeper in who you are, which is, I am really, among the reasons I love fighting and try to share martial arts with people, is so that when they watch, instead of seeing punches and kicks, they see striving, they see heart, they see trying 100%. To overcome things, they see teaching and learning and trying to become more than you are. And so by being a fan of Eddie Alvarez, I tried to use that to explain that kind of thing. But it's also fascinating because Eddie, and we've spoken about it since, changed how he fought as he got older, because he's got a family, doesn't need to get hit in the head as much if he moves his head and his feet.
You're right, and that's the whole. Eddie's sometimes, you know, you talk about, what do you think about the other fighter's best way to get at Eddie? And it's always, I answer, Eddie's his worst. Eddie's his worst enemy, because Eddie just has that Philly in him, and what you're talking about on your scale, man. The scale he wraps onto the scale and he just goes Philly. You know,
goes full
Philly on somebody. You know what I'm saying? And you know, when you have the opposite hand down and swinging, and you know, and you're loading up a little more. You know, especially a guy like him who just has, you know, his straight has so much power in his hands too. But to mix that up with his amazing wrestling and jiu-jitsu, his jiu-jitsu's on a whole nother level too, man. And just I just love mixed martial arts that combine it all. And Eddie kicks like a donkey too, man. I just love to see when he mixes it all together, and when he gets you up against the cage, man, he's probably one of the strongest guys we have on the team, man. He's just, when he's up against you, it's just a whole nother thing.
How many years ago would you have go back to describe yourself at that time as a pure boxing guy? How far do you go back where you said, 2007, 2002? Or
that's a great point. You know, for me, it's so funny when I was training Frankie, you know, I was just a boxing guy till he lost to Gray Maynard. Yeah. Like I'm saying, I didn't try to do anything else. Right. So it was first Gray Maynard.
So, it was Sean Shirk, before Sean Shirk, where you came in with him?
No, I'm talking about, I was with Frankie from day one.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, when he was even not in the UFC, cool. I was with Frankie. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So we've been together since his first pro fight.
The reason I ask about Shirk is he was a different fighter that night. Yeah. Suddenly he moved his feet on the entry, moved his head, moved his feet on the exit, ended up in the blind spots. Sean trying to get to him, he's in the other blind spot. And he was a different fighter that fight.
People ask me what's my favorite fight, and they think I'm going to say BJ or, you know, or the knockout of Gray. But my favorite fight is Sean Shirk. Yeah. And it's exactly what you said. I thought it was the evolution of Frankie Edgar.
He broke through a plateau that night.
He would never use his hands ever. And I knew that if you got to the higher level, people were going to stop your takedown. Guys like Gray Maynard, guys like Sean Shirk, they were going to stop that takedown. And I knew that you were going to have to, you know, use your hands. So I just knew that he had to, and then Sean Shirk is when he became a full mixed martial artist, and then, you know, I wound up having a title, you know, not so far after that. But me as one that I started being an MMA coach was was when Frankie lost to Gray. I was kind of just the striking coach, and then after Frankie lost to Gray, I got really upset. I'm like, and we were only training like once a week, twice a week during his fights, and I'd be like, I went to Frankie, I'm like, if I was gonna, try for the States in wrestling, do you think I could just go once or twice a week? I could win the States? It's like, you're crazy. I'm like, well, we need to change things. We need to get together like 5 times a week. We need to, know each other and get better. We need to, and that's when we also made the move to Ricardo. We need to be like a real MMA team and know all facets of the game. And it was also, too, it was funny. It was one of the fights early on after the Mayer lost. I'm like, hey, don't forget to do your wall work today when you go to wrestling. It's like, Mark, think about it. Is there walls in wrestling? I'm like, no. I said, well, don't forget about combos to wrestling. And I'm like, Mark, no wrestler knows anything about punches to takedown. So that's when I'm like, wow. Like, I need to, and that's what I believe MMA is all about, those gray areas. You have wrestling 100%. And striking.
The in-betweens.
It's the in-betweens which makes you a true mixed martial artist and what can make you succeed. And the only way you can succeed in MMA. So that's when I was like, man, I just really need to start learning everything else, like the kicking game and clinches too. I think boxers clinch a little better than see guys like Mayweather punch and know how to not get hit and to work more on the clinch game and using the fence and things like that. That I if I loved Frankie enough to want him to succeed, like I knew I had to learn those gray areas. And I can remember I was telling Duke the other day, like I will go on and look at all Duke Rufus stuff on Muay Thai. And then went to another level when Anderson Franca came on our team and we got Edson and Marlon. So, you just have to know that MMA is all gray areas.
So there's a Frankie and you guys and your team together. If you watch Frankie through some of that era, you actually see the sport evolve. So you see him against Sean Shirk, and he evolves the game that even Dwayne and TJ and Cody and guys like that are all playing, stepping off and moving into blind spots and
nobody
was
doing it that. Nobody was doing it at that point.
Then once he got good at that, his ability to throw those would set up his takedowns and those fake takedowns. He went through that period where people would measure. They're like, Frankie went 1 for 12 on takedowns. Frankie tried 0 takedowns that night. They were all fakes to set up the hands. So that was another evolution of it. But what I find interesting is we always have to go further. You go further because you guys compete and you have to be out front of the other minds. I go further because I'm curious forever and deeply curious about fighting, and I want to share it with people so they see it on another level. But if this is our wrestling and this is our striking and this is the area in between, we work on that, and one day we come up with this, right? Whatever this is, this is now our fake takedown to the strike, or this is our fake strike to the takedown. Great. Now there's a space here, and now we have to build that. Now, so we've found new blocks, but there are still spaces between those. There's one I see all the time now, and I'm sure you're working on it, I'm sure a lot of people are, but in that moment, the wrestler on the ground fights to get back up, and they go to 4 points. As soon as I go to 4 points, I'm getting up, because in wrestling, my ability to drive off the ground is better than your ability to keep me down. So guys are sort of just accepting that we're now standing. And I think in that moment, there's fight-ending spots. There's kicks to the head, 100%, there's damage to the body, there's limb destruction that can happen in that moment between I'm there, I've now given up my back to push and drive up. Guys just accept that we're standing now.
I think that really happens from sparring. Like guys in sparring, when they're at that point, the guy always backs off. Or for me, and it's funny you say it, I say they're free punches.
I say
it's for free. I say that time is free time. And I think a lot of people get bad habits from that when they spar. They're kind of nice to each other, and the guy's getting up, and they kind of stop, or maybe they get a little breather. But for me, I call it free time. Like it's like you just said, a lot of time it's free. And a lot of stuff with Frankie too was because Frankie, Frankie's style evolved from Frankie fighting at 55 and being 20-something pounds less. Where he can't stand in front of you, get hit by guys that are 20-something pounds less. And now 45, they just weighed him in against Jeremy Stevens the day of. He was 15 pounds less. So, I mean, he's a 35er.
He's a 35er. I fought at 35, and I'm bigger than Frankie.
Marlon's bigger than Frankie, only by a few pounds. But Frankie's a 35er. He's not a big 35er at all.
No.
So, so Frankie, we had to make his style off of movement and whatnot because of the size difference, that we couldn't let him stay in in front of people and swing away. Now that he's gone lower, he can do more pressure. He can do a little more pressure, but still, you still have to be careful, because when me and you throw at each other, there's going to be times you're always going to hit at the same time.
Right.
And if you have 15 pounds on me, you know, it's tough for me to push you forward when we're hitting the same time, and there's going to be so many volleys and when we're hitting or doing something clashing at the same time.
Yeah, Frankie's so incredibly tough and has so much heart, but you don't want to live on that, you know.
Yeah. No.
You know, you can't live on that. Eddie too. It's something about these guys, your guys.
Yeah,
so now, Chris is somebody, Weidman, somebody you do some work with. I love Chris. He's a cool guy, and I'm a big fan.
Him and his family are amazing, man. And Longo and Matt adds to the spice to the team, which I drive all the way to Long Island. It's a drive.
Yeah.
But when you're with those guys, man, you're having the best time ever. And we're already Renzo Gracie. We're already family, that we've seen and been around each other for years, being in New York and Renzo's together, so we're already family.
Yeah, and Longo's got such a great mind. I always love chatting with Ray. Kelvin Gastelum's a buddy too.
Kelvin's great.
With Kelvin, he's going to attempt to beat Chris the way Frankie beat bigger people.
Yeah.
He'll have to try to win that way. He'll have to try to not get hit by Chris. So when you look at that, does that change anything, or do you just still focus Chris to beat Chris and we're going to get to him?
Yeah, every opponent's different. I think that Gastelum got so much better everywhere, man. And I think his team has a certain style.
Yeah.
That we fought against Rafael Dos Anjos and some other guys on that team, Darush.
Oh yeah.
And they're kind of in that same mold. Their coach does an amazing job, and so they're very. The thing about those guys, I remember fighting Darush, is like just very consistent. Just technique is always there. They're always going to third round. They're still coming in third round. Their technique is good. Opposite hand is up when they're throwing, and you just can't slack off for a little bit because they're very disciplined and very consistent.
But Rafael Dos Anjos was winning a lot with pressure, but he did get touched. Kelvin's game lately has been don't get touched. And if he's going to fight guys like Chris at 85, it has to be that game.
Yeah, exactly. He's got to put a little bit into that because you just can't swing at a man that's a lot bigger than you, especially with 4-ounce gloves.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Yeah. Well, coaches, I'm thrilled to get to hang out and chat with you.
Man,
I'm a big fan of your work.
Big fan of yours too, man. I love listening to you because everything makes sense, man. Everything is dead on. So I'm a big supporter of your cast, man.
Thank you.
It's amazing. And I just want to thank you so much for letting me have the time to reach out, to your fans, for the Catone family, man. It means so much to me that you would let us.
I'm thrilled.
Let us use this time to do that.
I'm thrilled. And what is Nick's Twitter? Do we know?
It's Nick Catone. I'm not a Twitter thing. But I mean I am, but I don't know. Nick Catone MMA.
Yeah, Nick Catone MMA. So let's reach out to Nick.
You could do go Nick Catone MMA. He's on everything, but just some words would just be so uplifting. Nothing there's nothing you could say that helps, but I'm sure that little by little, man, just seeing the support. Because Nick, let me tell you something, Nick and his family, Marjorie, they give so much to not just our team, but the MMA community. Yeah. Nick was going to be at a fight tonight, you know what I'm saying, with some guys, and Nick, he puts out so much for even his amateurs. He treats his amateurs like he does, the best guys that he corners, like, Corey Anderson and Frank Perez and the other guys, man. He puts it all out, and as great as he treats Frankie when he's showing his amazing wrestling MMA, like he gives the same amount of attention to guys that have been with him for 1 month, and that's what I love about Nick, man. He's just always there for us.
Well, the internet often does all kinds of bad things, but let's do something good today. Let's reach out to Nick. Thank you so much, Coach.
I can't thank you enough, man. Thank you so much, man. For this time again.
Cheers. Thank you, guys.